Hello everyone, welcome to this stream. So today, but for FastAPI, this is my first time doing it. So let me look at each line of statement here or code and try to understand what path parameters are all about. Okay, so let me get started. I just need to confirm that I'm streaming the right thing. Okay. Just a moment. All right, so let me continue. So path parameters. Okay, so they're saying you can declare path parameters or variables with the same syntax used by Python format strings. So this works in Python 3.8 and above. They're saying from FastAPI, import FastAPI, app equals to FastAPI, app.get, and the path is items, then the item ID, which is a variable. And I guess it's a variable because it has been surrounded by curly brackets. Okay, so item ID is the variable in this case. Then they're saying async def. Of course, by now we now understand why it is async def because of the stream we did yesterday concerning concurrency and async await. Then saying async def read item, and then the data passed is this item ID, and then says return item ID. So this line says the value of the path parameter item ID, okay, will be passed to your function as the argument item ID. And of course, I would expect this to happen. And then we have the next line saying, if you run this example and go to localhost item/foo, you will see a response of item ID foo. Okay, so let me copy this code, go to this editor, erase this and just paste. Okay, and then we can run this. Let me open the terminal. Okay, and run. Is it FastAPI? Was the command FastAPI dev? Was that the command? Yes, it was. So we can go to this path, okay, and we're seeing it item ID foo, which means if I change this to, like, for example, FastAPI, okay, you see the item ID becomes FastAPI. If I change this to, say, items/video, we get video. If I change this to items/125, hit enter, so the item ID is 125. So literally anything, I guess. All right, let's continue with the documentation. So this status says path parameters with types. So they're saying you can declare the type of a path parameter in the function using standard Python type annotations. So now now you understand why I wanted to first of all revise the type annotations, or why it is important for you to understand Python type annotations on a broad, just a broad scale, okay, to have a general understanding of what they are. Yes, Linus, I see you. Welcome to the stream again. So, okay, and I've highlighted the line of code having the annotation for this parameter called item ID. And they're saying in this case, item ID is declared to be an int, an integer. And they're saying this will give you editor support inside of your function with error checks, completion, among others. Yeah, so this is simple. You can simply add here full colon and say int like that. Okay, so let's go on. We're saying they're talking about data conversion. They're saying if you run this example and open your browser at HTTP localhost, of course, 127.0.0.1 is simply the IP address for localhost, 8000 items/3, you'll see a response of item ID 3. So if I click on this, you see we get item ID 3. Okay, close this and that too. Let's continue. So they're saying, notice that the value of your function received and returned is 3 as a Python integer, not as a string 3 with quotes. Okay, and that is actually correct. So they're saying, so with that type declaration, FastAPI gives you automatic request parsing. Okay, and when I hover over this, they explain what parsing is. It says converting the string that comes from an HTTP request into Python data, which is a really cool thing to have. So let's continue. Okay, they continue to explain data validation. Then they're saying, excuse me. They're saying, but if you go to the browser at localhost item/foo, you'll see a nice HTTP error of this. Okay, they say detail type int parsing loc path. The message input should be a valid integer and able to parse string as an integer. Input foo, they put them an URL I think to the errors. Okay, so if I click on this, and there it is. Okay, we get the error like they've told us, because you cannot convert foo. I think this foo, this path variable here, this is what is a string, and we know that from what we got last time when we were studying about Pandatic, it helps us to do automatic validation. So there'll be validation, okay, against this argument here, item ID. And in this case, foo is a string and foo cannot be converted to an integer. So it fails. So let's continue. They're saying because the path parameter item ID had a value of foo, which is not an int, the same error would appear if you provided a float instead of an int. Okay, so let's click on this. So you see 4.2 is now the path variable. Let's click. So you see if we click on pretty print, you see we get input should be a valid integer and able to parse string as an integer. Because for whatever you pass inside here, by default will be regarded as a string. Okay, but even converting that float in string type to back to an integer, I mean from string to integer, is not possible, so it fails. Okay, so I'll close this and close this one too. Then I continue. I say that they're having a check. It's saying, so with the same Python type declaration, FastAPI gives you data validation. They're saying, notice that the error also clearly states exactly the point where the validation didn't pass. This is incredible. This is incredibly helpful while developing and debugging code that interacts with your API. Yeah, so this is really cool. So they're saying documentation. When you open your browser at localhost/docs, you will see an automatic interactive API documentation like this. Okay, so if I click on this, we should have the documentation. Okay, which is cool. Item/ID. Okay, of course this is expected, like we know from the first stream. So they're saying again, just with the same Python type declaration, FastAPI gives you automatic interactive documentation, which is integrating Swagger UI. Notice that the path parameter is declared to be an integer. So again, we can check even just from this image. If you look at, okay, let's check the documentation. Open this, you see it says item ID integer, which is cool. Okay, so let's move on. They're saying standard based benefits, alternative documentation. They're saying, and because the generated schema is from OpenAPI standard, there are many compatible tools. Because of this, FastAPI itself provides an alternative API using ReDoc, which you can access at this URL. If I click, I think we saw this. And again, you see the item ID is required and it's an integer. And we have 42 responses for a successful response and 42 for a validation error. Okay, let's continue. So they're saying the same way, there are many compatible tools, including code generation tools for many languages. Okay, so this is cool. Just give me a minute to get back here. Sorry, I admitted. So let's continue now. We have now Pindatic, okay, and it says all the data validation is performed under the hood by Pindatic. So you get all the benefits from it, and you know you are in good hands. You can use the same type declarations with str, float, bool, and many other complex data types. Several of these are explored in the next chapters of the tutorial. So you're saying order matters. When creating path operations, you can find situations where you have a fixed path, like users slash me. Let's say that it's to get data about the current user. And then you can also have a path users slash user ID to get data about a specific user by some user ID. Because path operations are evaluated in order, you need to make sure that the path for users slash me is declared before the one for users slash ID. So they're just trying to say order really matters, okay? And you need to be, for example, they are saying if uh, this one for the current user slash me, okay, should come before the one with a specific ID. And of course, they have the code examples here. Users slash me, then users ID. Okay. So I guess now in this paragraph, let's read and see what they're saying. Otherwise, the path for users slash user ID would match also for users slash me, thinking that it's receiving a parameter user ID with a value of me. Okay. So if this, yeah, by the way, that is correct. Because let me copy this. If I copied this and then I pasted it here, okay, save, and I come to our browser here. So it is users slash, so just copy this and then paste it. Let's say users slash me, you see, it would work. So yeah, what they're saying is correct. This would work and would assume it would think this would actually work as this. So it is a yeah, I now get it. So it's important to always pass this other one, which does not have a path variable first, then this one. Okay. So if I copy this and then paste it here, okay. So this one comes before this one. If I go back to the same endpoint and hit enter, you see we get user current user, which is the response we expect from here. But if I copy this, okay, and put it above and save, this one will never be reached because this me here will be passed here as a path variable. It will think me is just a path variable. So if I hit this again, we get that. Okay, so yeah, order matters. So I have to copy that and paste it below here. All right, let's continue. So they're saying, I think we read this. Otherwise, the path for users slash user ID would also match users slash me, thinking that it's receiving a parameter user ID with a value of me, a string. Okay. So we go on saying simply you cannot redefine a path operation. Not simply, but similarly. Okay. So we continue. We see the import fast API to create an instance. Then they have slash users. Okay. And then they have slash users. Okay. But if you look at the path operations, okay, we have read users, then read users too. Then they're saying the first one will always be used since the path matches fast. Okay. This one will always be used. So by saying read underscore users too, cannot redefine this one here. Okay. It cannot redefine it. Okay. Big task at hand. Good afternoon to you. All is going well here. How is it going on your end? Okay, so let's continue. The W set is saying predefined values. If you have a path operation that receives a path parameter, but you want the possible valid path parameter values to be predefined, you can use a standard Python enum. Okay, so simply, if you want a predefined value, create an enum. Okay. So they're saying create an enum class, import enum, and create a subclass that inherits from str and from enum. By inheriting from str, the Python docs will be able to know the values must be of type string and will be able to render correctly. So now we understand that the purpose of using an enum is for, first of all, passing in predefined values. Okay. Secondly, the second argument or the first argument is for the docs. Okay. To know that the type must be of string. Then they're saying then create class attributes with fixed values, which will be the available valid values. So if I come here, of course they have imported from enum import enum, then from FastAPI import FastAPI, then they have a class. Okay. A class which is called model name, but model name inherits from str and enum. So they're saying this first str is for the documentation to tell the API docs that the data type is a string. Okay. Then, and of course, enum plus str, this whole thing enables us to have predefined values. So the predefined value for AlexNet is AlexNet. The predefined value for ResNet is ResNet. Lenet. Okay. Then now they come here and they have the first create, of course, an instance of FastAPI. Then on this line, they have a path operation decorator. Okay. And the path is models slash model name. And we know that model name is now a path parameter. On the next line, we have async def get model with a parameter called model name, whose type. So model name will be passed to model name, but its type is of this class model name. Okay. So if you don't give these values, okay, they will have what? Default values. That's what they're trying to say. So they're saying if model name is model name dot alxnet, return that. If model name dot value is equals to that, return this. Okay. So I think this should make sense to you. Let me try to check. I'm seeing an alert here. Okay, I'm safe. So let's copy this code. Okay, I prefer practicing it, so I'm going to copy it and then probably remove everything. Okay, and paste. So when I paste, well, of course we have the enum and everything. So we save. So let's run this. Okay, we come here and we say models. Okay, slash. I say test. You see, look at the details. We get type enum lock that the thing input should be lxnet reset or that input test expected that. Okay. Yes, exactly. Yeah, big task, you're correct. Yeah, if I come here and I check lxnet is the variable and this one is the value. Okay, so this is all about predefined values. So if I copy it, okay, if I copy it and go to the browser and I put one of them, okay, I say models slash lxnet. You see, we get a good message. Okay, and that is for this. Okay, if I copy this for learnet, okay, come here and paste, you see, we get that other message. If I maybe put resnet, usually it's good to practice as we go through the documentation, and paste, you see, we get have some residues, which is this one here, the last message. Maybe let me try to zoom out this and expand so you can see a way more code. Okay, so you see how interesting this is. And of course, if I come in, I can say model name dot, and I'll get the options: learnet, alexnet, resnet. Pretty interesting, right? Okay, so let me get back here, scroll. They're saying enumerations or enums are available in Python since version 3.4. Yeah, so if you don't know about enums, you can go and read them about enumerations, okay? But simply it's helping you create your own kind of like type. Think of it as a type. So let's continue. So they're saying if you are wondering, AlexNet, ResNet, LearnNet are just names of machine learning models. Okay. So we go to the next thing, saying declare a path parameter. Of course, in your free time, you can now go and find out what each of them do. Okay. Oh, let's go. No, big task, you need a distraction. Okay. This is can be as interactive as possible. Okay. And of course, if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask. Then they're saying, then create a path parameter with a type annotation using the enum class you created. Okay. So this is the line of code they've highlighted. Okay. So this is a path parameter. Okay. Model name with a type annotation using the enum class. Okay. So model name. As simple as that. So we can go on. So they're saying check the docs. Because the available values for the path parameter are predefined, the interactive docs can show them nicely. Okay. They have hidden the link to I wish they had the link somewhere. Let me click this and see. No, it's a permalink. Let me try to scroll up to get the docs. There it is. So yeah, if you click, you see model name string. Yeah, which is cool. And we are even shown the available values, which is nice. All right, so let me scroll to where we were. So we know that the order matters. We know how to define predefined values using an enum class. Now we know how to declare a path parameter. And of course, we have now checked the docs. Let's now look at this next thing, saying working with Python enumerations. The value of the path parameter will be an enumeration member. The saying compare enumeration members. Simply, the enumeration members are the attributes in the class. Okay. So, like for example, this enumeration here. Okay. LXNet is one member, ResNet is a member, LenNet is a member. So this enumeration called model name has three members. Why is it an enumeration? Because it inherits from the enum class. So they're saying you can compare it with the enumeration member in your created enum model name. Okay, then we have the usual two imports, importing enum, FastAPI. We have the enumeration. We have an instance of the API or FastAPI. Then of course we have model name, and just what they want us to look at is what? This line of code, okay? This if statement, where we are making a check. We're checking if, okay, the value we are getting from the parameter, from the path parameter, is a particular value in the enumeration, okay? Like here, they're saying if model name, they're saying if model name is model.alexnet, but according to you can check maybe if model name is model name dot maybe resnet or model name dot lenet. So to just compare the two values, that is what they are trying to say here. So let's continue. They're saying get the enumeration value. You can get the actual value, which is a string in this case, using model name dot value, or in general your enum member dot value. Okay, which is ideally the same thing, which has been done here on this highlighted piece of code. Okay, model name dot alexnet. Okay, and they're saying value. Okay, so ideally they're showing us two alternatives. Okay, two ways you can access, you can compare the value in your path variable with what is in your enum. Okay, so like this if statement is checking model name dot lxnet against this value, okay, in the which is the path parameter. So you can check model name against the path parameter of model name against the enum name dot each of these members. Okay, so it can be model name dot resnet, model name dot lenet, or you can check using model name dot value, okay, equals to a particular string. So model name dot value, okay, will pick the actual value from here, okay, the actual value, which can be either these quotes, these values in quotes, which are strings, and will be compared against this other string. But of course, me, I would prefer to use the first way to check, because then imagine later if you wanted to change lxnet to maybe lxnets, and you had your code having so many pieces. Maybe let me just show you that in a moment. Assuming I had this, okay, I have that, okay, okay, another line of code here, okay, and probably many other places using model name.lxnet. If later I want to change lxnet's value from lxnet to lxnets, okay, I do the change in only one place. But if it is a string like this, okay, I have, and maybe let me copy this, copy it, right, copy it, move to the next line, paste once, then paste twice. Okay, so let me fix the indentation. Okay, so if I want to change, if I'm checking maybe for lenet, okay, and I want to change lenet to lenets, or lenet 1 2 3, I have to change here lenet 1 2 3, even here lenet 1 2 3, even here lenet 1 2 3, which is a lot of work. Okay, but if I had said model name, come on, what am I doing? If I just say, where is it? Model name, okay, dot lenet, and then I change all these to the same thing. This one to model name.lenet, model name.lenet. Up here, okay? If I wanted to make the change, I'll make the change only on this line of code by saying lenet 1, 2, 3. So one change in one place, better than making changes in several places. So you see the advantage of using enumerations. And this can apply to any Python project, not only FastAPI. So take note of this. So let's continue with the documentation. So they're saying you can also access the value lenet with modonet.lenet.value. Yeah, which can work. We're saying modonet. What? Oh my God, what is happening to me? I'm not saying modonet. It is modoname. Modoname.lenet.value. Same thing. Okay. So I guess when you say modoname.lenet, Python is wise enough to know that you want to compare against the value. All right. So they're saying return enumeration members. This other one, what was the title of this other one? So say get the enumeration value. Okay. So basically, 3 ways you can get the value by saying the enumeration dot the actual variable names or enumeration dot value or the enumeration dot variable name in the attribute. So let me just maybe make it clear here in VS Code. So these are the options. Okay. We have for getting get enumeration value. We have the enum itself dot attribute. Okay. Then we have path parameter. Okay. Dot value. Then we have enum dot attribute dot value. Okay. So these are the first one. Enum dot attribute is the same thing as saying, in our case, the enum is model name dot attribute like lenet. Okay. Path parameter. In our case, the path parameter is this one here, model name. Okay. We shall say model underscore name dot value. Okay. In this case, it can be lenet, AlexNet, or the other one. Okay, what is it called? ResNet. Okay. Then we have the enum, which is model name. This case that, for example, maybe resnet dot value. So those are the 3 ways of getting enumeration values. Okay. But of course, me, I would prefer the first one. Maybe the other use cases you may need these other two. Who knows? But let's continue. Okay. So they're saying return enumeration members. They're saying you can return enum members from your path operation, even nested in a JSON body. For example, a dict. Of course, dict is a dictionary. Then they're saying they will be converted to their corresponding values, strings in this case, before returning them to the client. Okay. So again, they import enum from enum, import FastAPI from FastAPI. They create an enum, create an instance of FastAPI, a path operation decorator, path operation function. Then look at what they have returned. Okay. So if I copy this and just replace everything up, okay, and paste, you look at this, okay. They're returning specific what? JSON, okay, the model name and the attribute. Not the attribute, but the actual enum value from model name, which you've passed, okay. And let's test it actually to make sense. I come here and I hit enter. You see, we get resonate. If I pass saying AlexNet, we get AlexNet. So in other words, you can, let's go back here. the enum members are returned. Okay. So whatever enum member you pass when you're calling the endpoint, okay, this function here will be passed and you can return it, okay, in your JSON body, as simple as that. And of course, you can return more than one. So they're saying in your client, you get a response like model name, AlexNet. That is if you said models/AlexNet, like you saw what I showed you. As simple as that. So they showed us how to get the values and how you can simply return it, which is super, super cool. So let's continue. And again, if you need me to throw light on anything or you have something that you need me to maybe I've not understood it and you want me to understand it better, simply let me know in the chat box. All right, so let's continue. So they're saying path parameters containing path. Then they're saying, let's say you have a path operation with a path files/file path, okay, where file path is a path parameter. But you need file path itself to contain a path like home, John Doe, my file, txt. Okay. Then they're saying, so the URL for that file would be something like files home John Doe my file.txt. Okay. So this is how it would be. Okay. I don't know if that makes sense. Should we do it? Let's find out. Okay. Before, but I guess they're going to explain it. Okay. Let them explain it to avoid me trying to gamble. Okay. So let's continue. They're saying Open API support. They're saying Open API does not support a way to declare a path parameter to contain a path inside, as that could lead to scenarios that are difficult to test and define. Nevertheless, you can still do it in FastAPI using one of the internal tools from Starlet. The docs would still work, although not adding any documentation telling the telling that the path parameter should contain a path. Okay. Then we have a data saying path converter. They're saying using an option directly from Starlet, you can declare a path parameter containing a path using a URL like files file path path. So they're saying in this case, the name of the parameter is file path, okay, like we know. And the last part, okay, and the last part, path, tells it that the parameter should match any path. So they're saying, so you can use it with this, okay? Let's copy and prove it. So I'll erase this other code. Okay, paste it here. Okay, so file path, this is the parameter, okay? And this other part, path, is what allows you to put a path inside the path parameter. So let's go to our server and run. So it is files, okay? Let me make this maybe bigger, /files, then / another path. Maybe we can say source / videos / tutorial .mp4, something like that. And I'm failing to type mp4. And there we are. It works. Okay. So I want to check whether it will fail without doing it. Okay. I want to check if it will fail without doing it. This is how I always learn things. So I'm going to remove it. Okay. I've saved. Come back to the browser. Hit enter. So they are right. It can't work. Okay. It says detail not found. We don't have this kind of path variable. But if I say file / haha, you see we get haha. The file path as haha. So to have a file path as a path parameter, like what we had previously, okay, we must add full colon, then path. And if I get back here and hit enter, there we are. It works pretty well. Okay, let's continue. So they have a tip for us here. They're saying you could need the parameter to contain home slash jondo slash myfile.txt with a leading forward slash. In that case, the URL would be files, okay, 2 forward slashes home jondo myfile.txt with a double with a double slash between files and home. Yeah, let's find this. Let's prove it. This is actually a good tip. I appreciate this tip. I've loved this documentation. I don't know what you guys see about this documentation, but it's very, very good. I've really loved it. Very easy to understand. Everything's explained. Like you can't really blame these guys. Okay, if I fail to understand what is going on here, I can only blame myself. So I'm going to paste it right here, and there we are. It has what? A forward slash. Yeah, this is good. Again, just to prove, if I remove that if I remove the double slash to a single slash, you see, before H, there's no forward slash. Before this H, there's no forward slash. If I add that second forward slash, there it is. It is added. Very nice. And they make it very easy. And this is what it's supposed to be like, okay? Now, I mean, I can now vibe code this using AI, okay? And yeah, life would be good. I would know what to correct, what to fix, how to review AI's code. Okay. Okay, then yeah, looks like we're at the end. So they're saying recap with FastAPI by using short, intuitive, and standard Python type declarations, you get editor support, error checks, and auto completion. We have seen that. Okay. They're saying you get data parsing. Okay, we have seen that where the string was converted to an integer. We get data validation. We saw that when the parameter expected is supposed to be an integer and we passed a characters, okay, that failed. It failed and to give us an error. Since we get API annotation and automatic documentation. Very cool. Okay. And saying it is intuitive, I really agree with this. I've enjoyed learning FastAPI. I don't know what you guys say. What's your experience like? Tell me your experience in the chat. What's your experience like so far learning FastAPI? Then they're saying, and you only have to declare them once. So they're saying that's probably the main visible advantage of FastAPI compared to alternative frameworks, apart from the raw performance. How do you find it? I think I've loved it. So next up, we have your query parameters. Okay. So yeah, I want to keep this short. Let's look at query parameters tomorrow. So I think maybe tomorrow the stream will start a little bit late, probably around maybe an hour later than. All right, I think we can call it a day. Let's meet tomorrow and look at query parameters, and if possible, move on to something else if possible. But yeah, this is good so far. Talk soon. See you tomorrow. Oh, Linus says they're enjoying the experience. That's good. Good to know. Thank you for your feedback, Linus. It's good to know that you're enjoying this. See you all tomorrow.